with respect to litigation teams, a group of people who are doing the case, I think both the client and the outside law firm have a common interest. They need those folks to be motivated.
Right.
And I think in the legal profession, we're professionals. We're here because we like what we do. So motivation should be relatively easy. But oftentimes, I think the motivational aspect stumbles on this, that the lawyers don't always have the information they need to do what they need to do. Anything from not having the right address for a letter that has to be prepared, to on the other extreme, perhaps preparing a motion without ever being aware of some key facts that would impact the motion. What do you do to make sure that the legal team has the information it needs?
Well, I think the first thing that you need to do is you need to identify a team. I think all too often what happens is some lawyers are brought in and out of a matter without ever given a real, they never have a full understanding of what the matter is about. They're brought in for, or a sense of ownership. Yeah. They're brought in for a legal research issue, or they're brought in to put out a fire on a motion, and they never really understand what was at stake, what the outcome was, and so there's not really any attachment to that particular matter. Not every litigation needs to have a huge team, but in order to create an attachment and some ownership on a litigation, there needs to be an identifiable group. Okay. So once you have that in place, the next step is to provide them some basic information about the case. And it sounds really simple, but it's really very often overlooked. And usually what happens is an associate comes into a partner's office, the partner talks for a half an hour, and the associate writes it down, and that's the end of it. And then they're given a series of assignments. What's the better way is to create a set of fact materials, a set of legal issues, and then there's the extraneous
glossaries
parts,
probably, and even something as simple as a contact
list, so that we know if we need to reach the clerk of the court, we know the number. If we need to reach the other side, we have the number, the email.
You mentioned the fact and legal, the factual summary, legal summaries.
Yes.
I guess what you envision is sort of a continuing document that can be updated. But typical litigation, their legal memoranda is prepared. There's somebody summarizes the facts, or they summarize the law.
Right.
What's wrong with that approach?
The problem with that approach is the memo is old as soon as it's completed. Facts are always changing. Legal developments are always changing, and so what you really need is a flexible approach to creating some sort of institutional embodiment of the information. A fact summary can be as simple as a chronology. List the event and list the document that you're relying on, or the testimony that you're relying on for that piece of information. When it comes to a legal summary, you can break it down by issue. Misappropriation of trade secrets. Here are the elements. Here are the cases that are the key leading cases. That way, outside counsel can review it, in-house counsel can review it, and it doesn't take the 30-page legal memorandum to analyze issues that may not be relevant after that memo is written.
Right, and I guess it also saves you the trouble of having to dig through a lot of legal memoranda to sort of piece together the issue you need. And I guess what you're saying, you envision something that's going to be updated regularly.
Periodically.
How do you make sure that happens?
There should be somebody from the team whose responsibility is to update that. As issues arise, there might be certain individuals who are tasked with researching issues. The end product of that research should be elevated to the person whose responsibility it is to update the legal research summary, so that not everybody has to write it in the same fashion. Sometimes issues only warrant a quick email response. Sometimes they warrant a full analysis. And over the spectrum of however that end product is, the information should be downloaded into the legal research summary so that it can be used as a flexible tool.
So I guess that's also underscores the importance of having a defined team, even a core team of people on the case, because I guess you can take one person and say, listen, you're on the emails and distribution for everything. As you pull information, you distill it down to this chart, and then everyone else on the team knows that that's the person.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly right. That's one of the main parts, is to have that identifiable team, make sure people understand their responsibilities. That creates ownership for each of those individuals on the team, and it just makes for a more cohesive litigation process.